Today I'm going to go over the do's and don'ts of veggie scrap stock while I make quick batch. My staples for making this are celery, carrots, and some form of alum. It could be onions, leeks, garlic, whatever I have, and black peppercorns. The only thing in here not a scrap is the black peppercorns. So for types of scraps you can use carrot tops and peels, but only if you wash the carrots before you peel them. You can use leek tops and the tops of spring garlic and onions. The things you don't want to use are the papery bits of mature garlic and onions. A little bit will add color, but too much and it will be a very, very bitter stock, so I tend to just avoid them altogether. For celery, the proper scraps would be the heart or the centerpiece with the bottom still attached, and the leaves that are at the top of each stalk that most people don't cook with. There are a lot of ratios for how much water to how much vegetables for veggie stock. My rule of thumb, because I'm too lazy to measure, is shove all the vegetables into the bottom and pour water in it until they just start to float. Once they start to float up off the pile you squished them into, that's the right amount of water for the veggie scraps, and cook it at that. Other things you can use that I'm not using today would be herb stems. Just be cautious about how much you put, because something like sage, if you put a couple of stems, this broth will taste like sage and nothing else. You can put the caps from sweet peppers, the piece with the seeds. I tend not to because I hate having to strain out all the seeds afterwards, and that's just an extra level of work I don't want to deal with. But you could if you wanted to. You can also use things like turnips, beet greens, basically any kind of scraps you have. Just be careful that you wash them first. Okay, things you might not want to put or be cautious when putting. Brassicas, like broccoli and cauliflower. I haven't personally made stock with cauliflower stems before, but I have with broccoli, and if you do make that, you will use it only with broccoli and you will mark it as broccoli stock for use with broccoli stews or some other form of broccoli dish. It won't taste good in anything else. Another option is mushroom stems, but again, if you use mushroom stems, the broth is going to taste like mushrooms. Some people like that, and I like it too, but some things just don't taste great with mushroom stock. So that also gets labeled as mushroom stock, not veggie stock. 3 other things that you could use would be corn cobs, squash skins, or potato peels. These are all very starchy things. I'm not listing everything starchy, but if you're going to use a starchy vegetable, keep in mind what you're going to use the stock for. There are some things that starchy stocks are good for, like cream soups and puree soups, and then there are things they're not so good for, like chicken soup. Tips for getting a good vegetable broth. The size of the pieces, very important. Smaller pieces cook faster. Overcooked vegetable broth turns bitter. So I tend to leave the pieces as whole as I can get them. If you're using like itty bitty tiny bits, like the last pieces of a diced onion and sliced carrots and celery chunks that you have cut up for something else, you're going to cook this a lot less. With the herbs specifically, but everything in general, you get out what you put in. So if your food is starting to look rotten, you're going to get a rotten tasting or bitter tasting stock. If the herbs have black sliminess, it's best to toss those in the compost. And then the final mistake that I've seen is a lot of people on the internet keep their vegetable scraps in the freezer. That's not a problem, but when you cook them, you have to cook them for less time. I'm going to cook this stock for 30 minutes once it reaches a boil. If you're using scraps that you got out of the freezer, you're only going to want to cook it for 15 minutes once it reaches a boil.